I'm going to discuss some things you might want to think about when you're monitoring and suppressing pests. So the two pests I'm going to focus on here are the Asian gypsy moth and dandelions. And Asian gypsy moth is definitely considered a key pest. It completely devastates conifer trees. And dandelions, well, I don't consider that a key pest. I would consider it a secondary pest. However, your customer may feel differently. So every year, the Washington State puts out about 30,000 of these pheromone traps to monitor gypsy moths, and they check every few weeks during flight season between June and September. So last year they found gypsy moths in both Woodway and in Everett in the Boulevard Bluffs area. And you may have heard about this, but they did do some spraying, and unfortunately on the news it just said pesticides, so of course that's going to alarm a lot of people, but what they're using is Bacillus thuringiensis. Anyway, so they treated both these areas on the 15th of May. They treated Woodway once again on May 19th. And in Woodway, it's a 672 acre site. In Everett, it's a 639 acre site. And they actually found Hokkaido gypsy moths native to Asia in Snohomish County last year. And they feed on over 500 species of trees, and what I mentioned, including many conifers, and that would just devastate our forests here. So they have to treat. They are feeding right now. That's why they're treating now. They have to ingest BT to be killed. Okay, so you can see that the Asian gypsy moth is quite a bit larger than the European. Unfortunately, though, the only definitive way to determine what they have is that they have to test the DNA. So here are just some differences between the two. The Asian gypsy moth, the female can fly up to 20 miles. The European gypsy moth can't fly. The infestation of Asian gypsy moth spreads faster and more widely, obviously because of flight. European gypsy moth feeds primarily on deciduous trees. This is definitely a problem more on the East Coast, but we do get them here. Asian gypsy moth eats both evergreen and deciduous trees. It's still a very serious problem on the East Coast, and conifer trees are killed more easily following defoliation. So devastating, has to be dealt with. So what they're doing is aerial applications of BTK, as I mentioned. This is a naturally occurring soil bacteria that's approved as an insecticide in organic agriculture. And last year there were several sites that they treated, but these two sites are the only ones. These are in Snohomish County, both. There are several versions of BT, but this is BTK, goes for Lepidoptera, butterflies, and moths. Okay. So now I'm talking about dandelions. When you're sampling for turf weeds, you want to do a transect of about 3 by 3. I mean, obviously you're looking at this now and saying, oh my God, there's a lot of dandelions here, but humor me a little bit here. So depending on the size of the lawn, you can take up to, say, 20 samples. You want to have them evenly spaced, 3 by 3 foot transects, and in this case, we're going to talk 20 samples. So of course, you're going to sample earlier the better. In the case of dandelions, they have contractile roots, which enable them to pull themselves deeper into the soil as the season progresses. So you want to get on this early. So some of the other weeds we have in the Pacific Northwest are annual bluegrass, buttercup, chickweed, clover, crabgrass, white clover, moss, plantain, thistles, red sorrel. Chickweed would be monitored in the fall because it's a winter annual. So say you took 10 samples that had 40% cover. So 10 times 40% equals 400%. And then you've got 10 samples that have 10% cover, so that's 10 by 10% or 100%. So you've got 500% divided by 20. That makes 25%. Research has shown that lawns with 20% weeds are usually not seen as weedy from the road, so it's not as insurmountable as you believe. Definitely a good idea to take a look at this. So healthy turf can out-compete weeds. You want to reseed anytime you pull a weed. You want to check soil pH. You want to think about 6.5 is what turf really likes. Avoid fertilization when annual weeds are germinating. Can be challenging because some of these things are happening. Fall weeds are probably going to be germinating about the time that you're putting fertilizer down, and that's the most important time to fertilize. So for healthy lawns, you mow higher, mow often, you leave clippings that can provide 25% of fertilizing needs. And as I just mentioned, fertilization once per year with a slow release fertilizer is best. And here are the types of grass in our region. We've got mostly fescues. We have Kentucky bluegrass, perennial rye, but fescue is the main turf. You do want to mix. You want some diversity there, but fescue should be mowed to 2.5 inches. And finally, for lawns to outcompete weeds, they must receive 1 inch per week of water. This is a simple test that can help you determine how long it takes for 1 inch of water to be applied to lawns.